Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new box office breakdown show here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max, and today we're going to break down this past weekend's box office, the last weekend of April for the movie season and really in April in general, which was Friday, April 28th to April 30th. We're then going to break down the 2023 domestic and worldwide charts and preview all of the movies hitting theaters in the month of May, which is really the kickoff of the summer movie season. Welcome back to Max Talks Movies. I'm Max Stenberg. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified when my videos drop. I do this show every single Monday, as well as other movie reviews, TV show reviews, movie rankings. So please subscribe, ring the bell. If you're new to the channel, comment down below. What did you see this past weekend in theaters? What are you going to see this upcoming weekend in theaters? What are your thoughts on the box office movies? Maybe some classic movies, maybe trying to hit the movie theater way as much as we saw this past weekend. Let me know in the comment section down below. Please like the video, guys. The thumbs up button, that's how you support this channel. Without further ado, let's get into this past weekend's box office domestically, which was April 28th to April 30th. And for its fourth consecutive weekend, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is in first place, grabbing another 40 million domestically this past weekend. Again, only a 33% drop is up to 490 million here domestically. Again, domestically is the United States and Canada. And just, again, fantastic holds for the Super Mario Brothers movie. They also got a huge gift that this was a pretty weak month of movies. This is the only major movie that hit theaters in the month of April. And because it released the very first week of April, it had the entire month to itself and absolutely dominated. Now, not just did that help, but I think a lot of people who aren't in the video game world or aren't in the Nintendo world or don't know what these games are, I think we're absolutely shell-shocked on the amount of fandom that these things have. And I said, it's very multi-generational. The original games came out in the 80s. So there are adults who are taking their kids to see it for the first time, but the adults have nostalgia for it. I grew up playing the games. I think a lot of people like me who grew up playing the games, loved the games, saw the theater and enjoyed it, went back multiple times. And I have seen this movie twice in theaters, and it is amazing what this movie is doing. We'll get to its milestone at the worldwide box office, but still great numbers. Now, we'll see how big of a dip it takes this upcoming weekend when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 hits theaters. But we'll see how good of a hold it has as the weeks get more and more competitive. In second place, holding up very good, especially for a horror movie, is Evil Dead Rise in its second weekend, only dropping 50%, which is really good for a horror film, getting another $12.1 million. Again, Super Mario Brothers is Universal, Evil Dead Rise is for Warner Brothers. Even though Evil Dead also added 15 more theaters this past weekend, and now it's up to 44.3 million. Domestically, it's already broken even based on its around $19 million budget. So big news there for Evil Dead Rise. 50% is again, really good hold. Again, there were no major movies that, again, not really any big movies hit theaters this past weekend. So it gave Evil Dead Rise a better hold. But again, horror films usually fall in that 60-70% range, no matter how big they open. So a good sign that 50% is actually a good number for Evil Dead Rise. The biggest mark that a new movie made this past opening weekend was the film from Lionsgate, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, based on the Judy Blume book, starring Rachel McAdams. It made $6.8 million this weekend. It wasn't around 3,300 theaters. But again, not really a huge impact at the box office, especially for Judy Blume. There was just no buzz about this movie whatsoever. I didn't really see any promotion either on TV, streaming services, or even on YouTube. So I don't even think a lot of people even realize this movie came out. And because it's based on Judy Blume book, I think the studio assumed it would carry it. But I love Rachel McAdams, so there just aren't enough other actors who can really make this movie pop from a marketing point of view. What I mean is like someone who can attract people to go to the movie theater. And Rachel McAdams has just never been that type of person, and definitely is not at this state of her career. So not great numbers for this movie. But again, we'll see if it finds its audience at home. In fourth place, still in the top 5, is John Wick Chapter 4 in its sixth weekend, getting another $5 million, only a 14% drop. And now it's up to 176.1 million for domestic run, John Wick Chapter 4 has now the highest grossing film, both domestically and worldwide, of the entire John Wick franchise. Now, this still hasn't become even a Mission Impossible level franchise where it's even around 708 million worldwide. But we shall see what the Continental show on Peacock does, and even the Ana de Armas Ballerina spinoff movie does next year, to see if Lionsgate wants to continue making films in this franchise. Also comes down to the creator Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves, but we shall see. And the big movie that I think a lot of people weren't even thinking about getting into the top 5, but it did, at number 5, is the re-release of Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. It did hit theaters because it was the 40th anniversary of the Star Wars classic, in my opinion. It was only in 475 theaters, but it made $4.6 million. It's nearly nearly $10,000 per theater this past weekend. So Star Wars Return of the Jedi was the biggest per theater average, just over Super Mario Brothers, in the top 5 this past weekend. I saw it in theaters. I had an amazing experience. It was the first time I've seen any of the the non-Disney movies in theaters. And obviously, if you know me on this channel, I'm addicted to Star Wars. I've seen this movie a billion times, but I never saw it on the big screen. I did take the time this past Friday to see it on the big screen, and it was absolutely worthwhile. So it's great that a lot of people seem to also want to check this movie back out in theaters. It lets a lot of people know that if you have the right franchise and the anniversary, I think re-releasing these films is actually very beneficial for the studios and create buzz around some of these franchises. Again, Star Wars hasn't been much in the negative as of late. It's nice to see Return of the Jedi. A lot of people checking this movie out back in theater on its 40th anniversary. When we get into the top 10 domestic this year, Super Mario Brothers now at 490 million, about to get to $500 million by next weekend. Here domestically, just monster numbers. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is now the number for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 to beat. 212 million to number 2. John Wick Chapter 4 of 176.1 to number 3. Creed 3 is at number 4 with 155 domestic. Scream 6 is at number 5 with 108. As we have 5 movies so far this year to crack over $100 million. And the rest of the top 10 is Megan, Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, Cocaine Bear, A Man Called Otto, and wrapping up number 10 is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Worldwide, though, is where the big numbers. Super Mario Brothers is the first movie of the year to join the $1 billion club. It is a lot of people thought coming into the year maybe Ant-Man would be the first one, but it is Super Mario Brothers being the first billion-dollar movie of the year. This is the third billion-dollar film for Universal Illumination, the Illumination studio, coming off of their first 2 billion-dollar films, which were Despicable Me 3 and the first Minions film, and they nearly got to $1 billion with last year's Minions: The Rise of Gru. So Illumination has become one of the hotter money-making studios in Hollywood today, and they might have found their new monster IP for the next decades with Nintendo and the Super Mario Bros. So $1 billion. It did hit Japan this past weekend. It made 14 million in Japan, but people are saying the holiday season for Japan is just kicking off. So the numbers could really crack into $200 million still to be made from Japan. So we'll keep tracking them as Super Mario Brothers tries to claw its way again to the top 10 movies all-time worldwide. Needs to hit 1.5 billion. So there's still a lot of work that Super Mario Brothers needs to do to get to that point. But we'll keep tracking as the weeks ahead as it tries to get into that top 10, being one of the biggest movies of all time. 2 Chinese films are 2 and 3 worldwide. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is at number 4 at 465.3 worldwide. John Wick Chapter 4 is at number 5 at 402. Again, that's the biggest mark for this franchise, coming off of around 300 million for the last one, and now get to 400 million for its newest installment. Creed 3 is at number 6 with 272 million, a Chinese film at number 7. And wrapping up the top 10 is Dungeons & Dragons at number 8 with 194 million. They'll probably get to 200 million before its run is over. Scream 6 at number 9 with 168, and a Chinese film wraps things up at number 10. As we usually do, because this is the end and the first show we have here in the month of May, today is May 1st, let's also take a look ahead at the movies that are hitting theaters this upcoming month, which is the beginning of the summer movie season, which of course kicks off with the Marvel movie as usual, which is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Marvel has been on a bit of a cold streak, really, since Spider-Man No Way Home, especially an awful start to the year with the box office and the reception for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So James Gunn, who now runs DC, puts out his last Marvel film, which everyone's saying is the last film for these characters and also is the darkest film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's tracking to get to around 130 million. Again, the number it's trying to overtake is trying to be a franchise best, which is from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which made $146 million. So I think a lot of people who are rooting for this film want this film to be a franchise best. It needs to be over 146 million this upcoming weekend. It should be fascinating to see if people like this movie, if the darkness of this movie is a turnoff for a lot of people. We shall see. I'll have a review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 this Saturday. For the rest of the month, hitting theaters May 12th is the next film in the book club films. Book Club, the next chapter, that hits theaters on May 12th. Another film that people are saying could get to the $1 billion mark is Fast 10. As I said, the 10th film now is crazy in the Fast and Furious franchise, really 11 if you count Hobbs and Shaw. But these films are huge for Universal. And the 10th installment is going even bigger than usual with adding Jason Momoa, Brie Larson, Rita Moreno to the fray. We'll see how Fast 10 does as it hits theaters on May 19th. That's a pretty big movie. And another big movie hitting theaters in May is Disney's The Little Mermaid, the brand new animation to live action movie from Disney that is getting a lot of big anticipation from director Rob Marshall, with Lin-Manuel Miranda writing a lot of the new music, obviously with Halle Berry and Melissa McCarthy in lead roles. So this is a pretty big month, as we're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Fast 10, and The Little Mermaid, all films that people think could possibly, at least the last two, get to $1 billion. We shall see, as starting from this upcoming week, it is the summer movie season, which is always a fun time to cover the box office. So that's my box office breakdown. Subscribe, ring the bell. More videos are coming soon. I'll see you guys soon.